Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
All right. Hey. Welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future. Today, we are talking about a very common question we hear in the finance world.
Oh, you're gonna ask me it? Or do you want me to ask you it?
The question is, why is it okay for the government to run a gigantic deficit but not actual people paying the taxes? Why can't we run? Why can't I run a deficit?
I didn't even want to ask that question.
That's
a question I'm not even going to stick my finger into that debate.
I know. It's not even what we're talking about. I just wanted to see your face.
No, I don't. I'm not.
That is a great question, and we probably should talk about why it's different.
We will talk about that at some point.
That's going to be
politically. It's a hot topic right now. I mean, we just got through the debt crisis. They've extended
until
to December.
I mean, maybe we'll revisit it in December.
I mean, for politics, that's a lifetime away.
I know.
You got so many things to do.
So many things between now and December. That's not what we're talking about.
Vacations and
golf trips.
Yeah.
So yes, Josh, that is not what we're talking about.
No.
But in general, how government finances operate would be a great topic one day.
Yes.
Well, we can totally revisit that. My joke went over well in that instance. Today, we're actually talking about a different kind of debt.
Yes.
And that debt being, should you pay off your mortgage early? So that's mortgage kind of debt.
Yes.
Or should you invest if you have extra money? So, Josh, here's the question. Should you do that?
Yeah.
Should you pay off your mortgage early?
Great question. And you know my answer to almost all these questions.
Oh, man.
Is it depends. It really, I mean, your situation is unique. Everybody has different things going on. So it's hard to give a blanket answer. But, high level, the answer for me is always talk to your financial advisor about your situation.
All right. Well, until next week.
That's great.
Have a good one. Okay. So, yes, the answer is a bit more nuanced than yes or no.
Yeah. But we can look at high level, talk through those different choices, the two sides of the choices, and maybe give you an alternative at the end of a compromise between those two. Because, my favorite thing is moderation, and maybe you could find a little bit of moderation between those two.
Wow, Josh. What a way to not pick a side.
That's right.
That's the way you are. Wait, middle child?
No. There's 5 of us, and I'm the second.
But you're in the
born.
middle.
I am in the middle. I'm not the firstborn or the last born.
Yeah, but you would naturally be a more mediator type person.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, so I am going to start with numbers.
Let's do some numbers.
Because I talk numbers, I think numbers are the way I go. Mm-hmm. But there's more to it than numbers. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. So here's the way I see it.
Yes.
If you got or you refinanced your mortgage really any time since the global financial crisis, but especially within the last...
Global financial crisis.
It was a crisis.
When was that?
That was 2008, 2009.
Oh, was it
really
last year?
trickled. That was a different crisis.
Okay.
It really trickled on for years after that.
Yep.
But anyway, global financial crisis. Since then, interest rates have been very low in general. And they were really low again coming out of COVID as the Fed cut rates again. Historic low, all-time low mortgage rates, all kinds of things. So a lot of people refinanced, bought a house, all kinds of things happening then. So generally speaking, you're probably, if you have a house that you purchased since the global financial crisis, you probably have a 4% or less interest rate on your mortgage if you got a fixed rate mortgage.
Yeah, really, I mean, and I guess we should start, your interest rate is really dictated by a couple things. The mortgage company is going to run a calculation saying the rate is to compensate them for the risk of you not being able to pay that obligation. Yep. And so, there's a range there. So, if you have decent credit, have some equity in the home, meaning you're able to do a down payment, and you have good history of payments and have good cash flow, 4% or below is probably a good interest rate.
It could probably be a little higher, maybe a little lower.
Or maybe you have some PMI or whatever, to move the rates around. But you're right. Somewhere between 2 and 4% is probably where a lot of people are sitting.
Yeah, if you refinance, if you meet those same boxes and you refinance within the last year or two, you're probably 2 or 3%, depending on where you're at your loan length and all of that. So anyway, those are the basic numbers we're going to start with.
Okay.
Say call it 2 to 4% for your fixed rate mortgage. So say you have a 30-year mortgage, 3% interest rate. You are then paying 3% annually, although it's amortized monthly, to borrow that money.
Right.
So the outstanding balance is what you're charged interest on really every month. So it goes down a teeny little bit every single month, the interest piece. That's how that works. So your loan, it costs you 3%. So when you make additional payments, that typically goes directly to principal.
Yes.
Although double check that with your mortgage, because some mortgages have prepayment penalties. Some of it just applies it. Yeah, and some of it applies it to the next payment instead of. No, we don't want to do that. We want it towards principal only.
Yep.
So essentially, you're earning 3% on your quote unquote investment,
right? Because
you're paying,
extra.
that's
a guaranteed payment, and if I can eliminate it, I just save myself that 3% was going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So all of the things equal, you're earning 3% on your money because you're making extra payments that go directly to principal.
3%, not bad.
3%, that is not that
Better
bad.
than my savings account.
You're at least keeping up with inflation historically, although not as of late. So 3%. Here's the kicker: the stock market has averaged around 8% annually. Long history.
Yeah, if you go back to 1926, you're actually between 10 and 11%. But
exactly.
8% is a great number.
8% is a conservative stock market number, because even recently it's been better than that as well. So say it's 8% that you can earn in the stock market historically. So based on that math alone, you would be better putting the extra cash toward your investment accounts, as you will earn more than your debt is costing.
Is that because 8 is a bigger number than 3?
It is.
Oh,
by a matter of 5%, Josh.
Oh, man.
And 5%, that's 5% compounded.
5% compounding. 30 years.
We love compounding.
Yes.
So that's just really high-level thinking. So let's put some real numbers on paper, and I'm going to say that this is not a perfect example, and we'll say why as we go through it. But it's a general...
Yeah.
It gets you in the ballpark. So
the concept gives you the same
exactly
what you need to know. All right.
Yeah, the real numbers could be debatably one way or the other, teeny bit at the end. But there was an article from Money Made that I link in the show notes that had this example. I thought it was good. So suppose you have a 30-year fixed 3.043% mortgage.
Oh, exactly.
Exactly. That's a
thousands of a percent.
That's a real detailed one. On a $450,000 home. So now you're buying a nice house.
Very nice house.
You put 20% down.
Yep.
Okay, so
that's $90,000 down.
So then you have $250 per month in your budget. You're deciding what to do.
Okay.
$250 a month
on top of what everything else. Yeah, I have extra $250.
Extra $250, and your choices are:
I gotta
put it on the mortgage or invest it. Okay.
Yep. So my paper route pays me $250. It's on top of everything else I'm doing.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with it?
You live in a $450,000 home,
and I have a paper route. Yes,
that's good. So an extra $250 per month in principal payments would save $43,414 over the life of the loan.
Hey, there you go.
Sounds like a lot, and
it's a lot of money.
It will shorten your loan term also.
Yes.
I don't have the calculation for that, but it will shorten your loan term by a couple years.
Handful of years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's one thing to think about. So keep in your mind $43,000
locked in there. Never gonna forget it.
Now that extra $250,000 per month invested. So
instead of paying it on my mortgage,
we're going to throw it in the stock market.
Okay.
So we're going to invest it for the next 30 years. Now, again, it's not. It might not be fully 30 years because you'll save a little bit of time, but say 30 years.
Yep, even.
You're going to earn, now Vanguard put this number out there, 8.29%.
Ooh.
That's
not. Can I have another percentage? Because the mortgage rate was to the 1,000th percentile.
I know. This is a little bit more high level. 8.29%. That $250 per month for 30 years would grow to $111,189.
Which I believe is a bigger number than the 43.
It is. It is $67,775 more money, having invested the same money for roughly the same amount of time. Roughly. Now, again, this is all with caveats.
Yep.
But I like $68,000, and $68,000 goes and buys me the Corvette I want.
Okay.
So that is the real numbers.
That's it.
That's it.
We're done.
So the numbers, again, second example, the numbers, they say if you're going to earn more with your investment than you're paying in interest, it will always say invest, numbers-wise.
Number-wise, as long as your potential earnings is higher than your potential savings on your interest rate, the numbers tell you to invest. You're right. You can't do anything. You can't beat math. Math is math. But there's another piece of this, and this is why I said in the beginning it depends, is because we all know, working in this industry, that there is more to investing than just the straight numbers. If investing was just about numbers, there would not be a lot of the volatility in the stock market, because a lot of that is an emotionally driven volatility. People panic and sell when they shouldn't. And so, same is true here, is emotions factor into this.
Like
now,
dancing?
Do I get
emotions?
emotional about my house and the value of it? No. It's the fact that, let's talk retirees, because a lot of times, 30 years of a mortgage means you're probably right around retirement age by the time you get around to pay off that house you're living in.
Yep.
At that point, owning debt when I no longer have a job with an income is a little bit more of a burden and stress on my life than during my working career. And so debt can feel differently in retirement. And so that may be in an example where even though you may save some money by investing that extra, paying off so that you're debt-free heading into retirement is well worth giving up that cost. That cost for the peace of mind is better.
Right.
So that's an example. Another example is if you're not a good saver. Let's just say that you have good intentions, but you tend to grab some of that money you're supposed to be saving. Another way is forcing it, because if you're paying down your mortgage and setting that as part of your payments, that savings is built into that reducing your mortgage. And so you can't go kind of reach your hand. Well, you could, I guess, getting a home equity line of credit or something. But in general, it's a lot harder to do than if you just put it in an account where you could try to grab later.
Right.
So someone who maybe has a harder time being committed to not touching that long-term savings money is maybe better off paying extra on the mortgage to reduce the debt, which from a net worth standpoint is doing the same thing, just at a little bit slower rate we talked about from the growth standpoint.
Yep.
So that's two pieces where maybe paying off your mortgage makes sense.
Yeah. I think that even when you take the number side away from it, you have to do what keeps you on track, right? Because it's about putting together a financial plan that you can stick with.
Yep.
And even if you agree that the numbers work out one way better, if it's too risky and you can feel a little bit better by moving some of that money into paying the debt down earlier, something you can stick to is better than a plan you're going to fall off of.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that's a yo-yo diet. Right?
And it's also like when we talked about debt, is there's paying back debt. There's something called the snowball method, which is where you start with the smallest balances and work your way up.
Yep.
The avalanche method, which is another way of paying off debt, you start with the highest interest rates and get rid of those.
The numbers are always going to work out.
Numbers always say the average for the avalanche, you get better, you save more money. But people are more likely to stick with the snowball method, which is paying off the smallest balance first, because you get success and those go away quicker. You see results.
Right.
So again, numbers aren't always the best answer if you know psychologically this is a better way to keep me on track. So, So there we're at with all that. We're going to talk a little bit more deeper about it, but that's high level why, one, number-wise, why you'd want to do paying your payments towards the savings and then, or your extra money, or two, why you'd actually want to pay it towards the house. There's answers to both sides, and your financial advisor can help decide which one makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, and it may be totally different than your friend or your sibling or whatever. Everyone has to make that choice for themselves, and you could have great success either way.
Yep. And it could be different in different phases of your life. You may say, well, okay, while I'm younger, I'm going to put more towards savings, give that time to grow. But, the last 10 years or so of my retirement, I'm just going to knock out all my debt and focus more on that. It may just be a seasonal thing, too.
So, Josh.
Yes.
Dad joke of the week.
Yes.
You ready? Do people see colors when they dream?
Do people see colors when they dream? I'm going to say no, because their eyes are closed.
Or is it just pigments of their imagination?
Oh, man. Pigments of their imagination.
r/dad jokes, y'all.
Favorite.
Sticking. So I'm going to reference that article from Money Made that I talked about earlier. They had a good list of pros and cons to paying your mortgage off early. So let's talk about some pros.
Yep.
So number one, returns are guaranteed when you pay your mortgage off early. You know you're going to get your interest savings, which in our example was 3% or whatever. Like that's a fixed savings. It's a fixed return on your invested, we'll call it invested money that you know you're going to get. So it's guaranteed. Number two, something you had already mentioned, peace of mind. Peace of mind is something that by paying your mortgage off early, you just know that is not something that you have to worry about. It's not something you have to worry about on your monthly bills. It's less market volatility you have to worry about, all of these things. You just have some peace of mind, so you may be able to sleep a little bit better.
Yes.
Number three, by paying off your mortgage early, you're gaining equity that can be accessed in the future.
Oh, yeah.
If you need cash and you have your house paid off, you know what kind of home equity loan you can get? a lot.
Yep.
Like up to the value of your house.
That's pretty nice.
Essentially, for very, very, very low cost. So by paying your mortgage off early, you are really giving yourself the ability
the
to...
money doesn't go away.
No.
It's showing more equity in your home.
And real estate, while imperfect, there are market fluctuations up and down, generally has gone up over time. So you're paying off a loan on an appreciating asset versus a depreciating asset like a car.
Right.
Totally different. Where we would not be talking the same if this was about a car.
Right.
Because that is a depreciating asset, which you better get rid of the debt as soon as possible.
Yep.
Homes are another story because
you can get a whole tangent on that. They're offering car loans for periods that I think are longer than the average person actually owns a car.
Yeah, like 7, 8
months.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is... Yeah, I think that is crazy.
Now, if there was 0% financing for that time frame, then you just got to know you got to pay off that balance at some point.
All I'm saying is that if they offer me a negative interest rate to
you're buying it,
I'll buy a brand new car. But until that happens,
yeah,
rolling with used cars.
there you go.
Okay, so that was number 3. Number 4, you free up monthly cash flow. This is the big one for people, especially for retirees. But it matters to everyone. It'd be nice if you didn't have to. You don't pay rent because you own your house, and you don't pay a mortgage because you own your house as well. So if you don't have to pay for that, that is a huge
for a lot
chunk.
of people. That's a big one of their larger budget items. I'm
Absolutely.
Sure. So,
So that is one option, and probably the biggest thing, the benefit you get from paying your mortgage off early.
And again, that's why retirees like it, because if you knock out that mortgage payment, your monthly cash flow looks a lot different.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your monthly requirements is really the key. It's about, I know that I have this much going out, and if that's lower, then I can work less or do what I need to do, and it's a little bit easier to put things together. And the last pro that I had on this list was, now, we'll put the caveat here, we typically would recommend most people going with a fixed rate mortgage where you have a fixed rate for the entire length of the loan, especially if you got it at a low rate, that's great. There are people and there are instances where adjustable rate mortgages, known as ARMs, can work well. However, they're hit or miss.
Yes.
Often expensive as well. But early in the loan, typically the rates are a lot lower. And then they go up as interest rates go up over time if you time it right. That's how it works. So if you have an ARM and the rate is low now, you could save even more by paying extra on your loan now than you would later. So that's an option. There are cons, however, to paying your mortgage off early. Some of these we'd kind of already talked about.
Yes.
Number 1, you have a higher return potential. Not guaranteed, but a higher return potential from investing. But what's the caveat there?
You got to sit through it to get it.
It's volatility.
Yes.
It's not going to be a straight, you're not going to get 8% a year like clockwork.
Right.
That would be great, right?
It would be awesome.
That's not the case.
No.
Number 2, compound interest is your friend. So the more money you're investing, the more time it has to compound. So you're getting that 8% on that 8% on that 8%, although it's probably going to look like 12% and 6% minus 8% plus 23%.
Yep.
It's the way it's going to go. But you're going to average that over time. And the more time you have to compound, the better it is. Everyone who I've ever talked to who has done well investing has said, I wish I would have started earlier.
Yes, that's always
because the math always says the same thing.
Math works. Yep.
Number 3, you have potential for easier access to your money, which can also be a bad thing.
Yes.
If you want to access your investments, often not recommended if they're especially in retirement accounts. Penalties and taxes are not your friend in that case. But investments are usually more liquid than your actual home. Don't forget about the home equity loan, though. That is a different way to access the value that you're paying off early there. Another one is you lose your mortgage interest deduction when you pay it off. So, Josh, talk about that a little bit and why that sometimes is a hang-up for people, and maybe it shouldn't be as much.
Yeah, sometimes people get so caught up on, hey, I have this deduction I use if I have a mortgage. Maybe I should just keep one. Because if you itemize your deductions on your tax return, one of those spots is you can deduct your interest on your mortgage on your primary resident. And so people who itemize say, hey, that's a deduction. I'm saving some taxes. Yeah, but if you actually look at that tax savings on the interest, it's not as awesome as you may think. And with today's standard deduction being so high, fewer and fewer people are actually filing an itemized deduction. And on top of that, which is what we're going to talk about in the last bit, is there may be ways, depending on how you're saving, to get an equal or different deduction on your income that offsets that.
Absolutely.
So we'll get there in a minute.
Another one is employer matching programs. They are your friend when you're putting that extra money to work through investments. That could be through a 401k or 403b. So those are kind of the cons of paying off your mortgage early. Really, it's it's the benefits of putting it in the market instead.
So let's wrap it up talking about, okay, those both sound like good options.
They are.
Can I do both?
Sure.
Yeah. Moderation. That's what I love.
Josh.
I love moderation. And so there's some options in doing that. And we would suggest, again, sticking to your plan and talking to your financial advisor. But you may say, you know what, I can't decide between the two. I have $250. What if I just kind of split between those two? Awesome. Great. You're going to get a little bit of both. You're not going to get the full impact of either, but you're going to get both.
Right.
But here's an example. So you talked about how interest rates are at really low rates right now. Refinancing, if you haven't recently, I would check to see what refinancing could do for you. Because if you could, even going from 4 to 3%, a 1% change in your interest on a 30-year mortgage is huge. And so if you can just adjust that down, you're going to find two things. You're going to either see a shortened length of loan or reduced payments. Or you can do a combination of two, but we're going to just kind of look at this as pieces. So if, for instance, you say, okay, I had a 30-year mortgage, I'm going to refinance down, I'm going to keep a 30-year mortgage, but I'm going to save $200 a month on my mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I have a couple choices. All right. In your scenario, you had an extra $250 to spend on top of that. So now I have $450 of extra money because I just refinanced. Well, I could keep my mortgage payments keep
paying the same amount, even though it's not
$200.
due.
So every month I'm doing $200, and now I'm paying $250 to savings. I'm doing both.
Right.
Or, if you reduce your mortgage payment, you can have more to save if you really like that piece. Or you shorten your loan, which is equivalent to paying a little extra every time.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a 30-year, you keep your payments the same, but make it a 20-year. Well, I just knocked 10 years off. I knocked a lot of interest off of that by doing it that way. So there's a lot you can do by refinancing. So I would encourage you just to check that out. Most of the time, it doesn't cost anything to find out a refinance.
Yeah.
Right? Until you actually go through the process is when you're going to pay.
And even
if you just
then,
want to talk to bank and say, hey, what are my options? Hey, find out.
Even then, now rates have come up a little bit since they were last year, but they're still really low.
Really close to 3.
And you're going to pay probably it depends on who your bank is and everything, but you could pay up to a percentage of the loan or a couple $1,000s to close on. You're closing on your loan is what you're doing.
Right.
And that, if you compare that to the interest savings, if you're moving the needle at all, is going to generally work out in your favor.
Yep.
So, regardless of if you want to invest more, which we would always say yes, if you haven't refinanced in the last couple of years,
just check it out.
Just look it out.
Please look.
Yeah, look it up. Call your bank; they'll be able to tell you wherever you have your mortgage, or look it up online.
But let's say you already refinanced. You said I already did that. I was on top of things, but I still have $250. Just split it. Say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit here or there, or you can kind of say, you know what, I'm going to invest for a while, and then once I get to the point where my investment account has accumulated and paid off my mortgage because I'm paying it down along the way. You can do things like that because chances are that growth is going to be faster than if you just paid it off straight. So you could do all those different things. Just the idea is do something with that money. If you let it sit, it's going to disappear on its own. Yeah. So find a purpose for that extra money, whether it's paying off the mortgage, whether it's paying towards some savings accounts, whether it's paying down other debt, or it's just saving in general. Do it.
Because, Josh, what is cash?
Cash is dumb.
Cash is trash.
Cash is trash.
We don't want cash. Cash is good to have set aside for emergencies and life cash flows.
Yes.
However,
emergency funds, that's all good.
However,
excess cash
is trash.
Get it.
You got to put it to work paying off debt, or you got to go to put it to work investing. It does no good for you sitting there.
Right.
So,
all right.
Wow.
That's good.
That's good. Josh, I think we answered the question.
I like
the answer is
I like your cash is trash. I like
cash is trash. That's my thing. All right. So 2 things. Number 1, it's not too late to enter our second half stock draft competition.
You can still beat me.
Even though you're into the 4th quarter, you can start with a fresh $100,000.
You can be well ahead of Josh.
You can be like
starting now
$10,000 ahead of Josh at this point. But yeah, you can enter that all the way through the end of the year. Check out our website or our social media, and there are details of how to enter there. Number 2, as always, check our free gift to you. It's a brief list of 8 principles of timeless investing. Overarching investment themes meant to keep you on track to meet your long-term goals. Some of these things we talked about are on there, specifically when it comes to investing. So check that out. It's free on our website. Josh, how can people help us grow this podcast?
Like always, make sure you're subscribed. That gets you the most recent episodes sent right to your podcast playing app
every
Thursday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any thoughts, questions about refinancing, questions about which of these two makes the most sense, shoot us an email at hello@theinvesteddads.com. Also, if you know somebody who was talking about that or has some extra cash flow and was trying to figure out what to do, share this episode with them. Hopefully it will help.
All right. Well, until next Thursday, have a great week.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.